The Battlefront Network, giving you your daily dose of Battlefront content.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is?
It's Wishlist Wednesdays!
Wishlist Wednesdays!
Yes, that's right, it is Wishlist Wednesdays! Nolan, what is Wishlist Wednesdays?
Wishlist Wednesday is our new series starting every Tuesday?
No, I think you'll find
every
it
Wednesday!
every Wednesday!
In which we go through the previous week's comment section, look for our favorite comments or ideas that stand out to us from you guys, and we make a video about those, assessing if we think they're going to be in the new Battlefront game.
Precisely, that's exactly what we do. And last week we did our own topics, but this week, because you guys are awesome, you sent in your suggestions, and we have picked 3 of those, and those are the 3 topics we're going to cover in this episode of
Wishlist Wednesday!
Okay, so Nolan, you're going to kick it off with the first topic, which is from RealNordz.
RealNordz, or Aaron Reten, I hope I didn't butcher your name, I probably did, I can't read. I would like to see planets from Empire at War such as Mandalore, Nalhutta, Dantooine, Vergesso asteroids, and the main dockyards in the Empire such as Kuat, Fandor, and Mon Calamari. And, well, I think this is very interesting. I personally would love to see a bunch more planets added to the game. That would be absolutely awesome to see Mandalore, Nalhutta, Dantooine, all the things that he's listed, as well as many other things from Empire at War. Now, what I think is that we're not going to see a bunch of different planets, we're going to see a bunch of different maps from each planet. Personally, I believe that each and every DLC that we get from DICE in this new Star Wars Battlefront game is going to be its own planet. It's going to be 3 to 4 maps from a single planet. What do you think, Johnny?
See, I'm going to come in and agree with you straight away with that, and the reason I agree with your whole DLC theory here is because, if you think about it, on Monday they announced that the game does ship with 12 maps, and that the Battle of Jakku DLC will add 2 extra maps, and they will both be Jakku-based maps. So I think, because the first DLC coming out, which of course is free, woohoo, free DLC,
Woo!
because that's coming out and that one's planet-based, I think they're gonna go in the same direction with the rest of the DLC. So I completely agree with Nolan on this one. I'd be surprised if we didn't see something like that. The only sort of variation I can see of that is them bringing out DLC packs with 2 planets per DLC pack. So maybe that will ship with 2 maps per planet, so you get a DLC pack with 4 maps in it, and it'll cover 2 planets with 2 maps per planet. Maybe that'll happen, but I think it will be planet-based DLC, and I think Nolan's hit the nail right on the head with that one. He's got that one spot on.
The other thing I think they could do with the planet DLC is they could, as you said, do 2 maps per DLC, but have more frequent, less expensive DLC.
That's a good idea also. I do think that's something they could do as well. I think as long as we get to see a nice collection of planets by the time all the DLCs come out, by the end of 2016, I assume, and as long as there's a bigger variation of weapons and stuff, as long as we don't just see planets, that'd be awesome. But going back to RealNord's topic, I definitely think I'd like to see planets such as Dantooine, Mandalore and stuff like that. But the thing is, because Force Awakens hasn't come out yet, we don't know half the planets that are going to be in Force Awakens. So I think the DLC, a lot of it, or at least half of it, will be based on The Force Awakens and planets from there. So we'll be able to explore more planets from The Force Awakens within the Battlefront game. What do you think on that one, Nolan?
I think that it's possible, but I think that we're going to see, like, slightly to significantly less than half of the DLC be from The Force Awakens, because they've gone so far and all they've announced is, minus the Battle of Jakku, is just Galactic Civil War stuff. So I don't think that we're going to see all this Galactic Civil War game and then a bunch of maps from the Episode 7. However, if they make some sort of tie-in to, like, oh, this builds up to Episode 7, like they did with the Battle of Jakku, then I could see them adding planets in from Episode 7. But we've already Basically, we know all the planets from Episode 7 already, because we know all the planets in the Star Wars universe.
This is true. This is true. So, on our rating scale, what are you going to give this one?
Force is strong with this one.
Number 5.
Yeah, you're giving this a 5 out of 5. The Force is strong with this one. I'm going to give this one...
May the Force be with you.
And I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. I think it could happen, but I still think there's a little bit of... There's something in there telling me that... Yeah, there's a little bit of doubt in my mind, and I find my own lack of faith quite disturbing. But, you know, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens when the game actually releases.
Alright.
So that leads us on to our second topic, which was given to us kindly by Fly Stern, and it is involving a hero mode. He says, I'd love to see a 5 versus 5 where players are heroes while the rest of the NPCs are your typical troopers. Imagine a Titanfall type situation. Dozens of computer players running around, but your old Ben Kenobi tearing that ass up. Seriously, this mode would be called Super Tight Butthole. Now, the first thing I'm going to address here is that I doubt DICE are going to call the game mode Super Tight Butthole. I mean, if they did, that would be awesome. I'm pretty sure, Nolan, you've got your thoughts on this one as well. So
I would forever respect DICE if they named it Super Tight Butthole mode.
I think we all would, but I can't see it happening. Going back to the mode, though, the 5 versus 5, where everyone is heroes and you've got your NPCs running around and stuff, I really like it. I think it's a unique game mode. I think it's one that could work. It works like a team deathmatch. It's like a team deathmatch thing, but you've also got a load of NPCs around you which you can slaughter as well for, I'm guessing, less points, but you get more points for killing the other heroes and stuff. Maybe it could work like an elimination, so you kill... You each only have a certain amount of lives on each team, so you can still go around killing NPCs, but, you know, when it comes down to it, it's a duel between both teams to see who can stay alive the longest. I think that could work quite nicely. What about you? What are your thoughts on this one, Nolan?
I see a ton of potential with this idea in multiple different things. So we've heard about the single-player missions that you can play with, I think it's up to one person locally or even online.
Yep.
So maybe it's 1v1 in this. That could be something that would definitely work out. I don't really see it being a part of the overall multiplayer because they haven't announced AI in the multiplayer. It'd be awesome if it was. It'd be awesome if it was just the 5v5 with 15 other people running around on each team. But the other thing I see here is also, I didn't think about this when we were talking about the last topic, is that for each DLC, since it is planet specific and since each hero, as far as we know, is going to be planet specific, each hero could be part of DLC also.
This is true, although I'm wondering if each hero is planet specific, and if we go back to the teaser trailer or the cinematic trailer for Star Wars Battlefront, we saw Boba Fett on the planet of Jakku.
We don't know if it's Jakku or not.
Well, we don't know if it's Jakku or not, but after doing some thinking, I do think that Star Destroyer, that crashed Star Destroyer in the background is the one from Jakku, the one we see in the Star Wars Episode 7 teaser trailer. The reason I say this is because it's very slightly teased. You know, there's not a lot of Jakku there. You don't see a lot of it. You just see Boba Fett flying around being a badass on what looks like Jakku. I mean, for all we know, it could be Tatooine, because they are creating completely new canon. So it could be Tatooine, and there could be a battle where a Star Destroyer actually crash landed into Tatooine. But I think that could be Jakku. Now, going back to the whole hero-specific planet thing, or planet-specific heroes, would Boba Fett be Jakku's planet-specific hero? And if so, does that mean Boba Fett could make an appearance in Star Wars The Force Awakens?
Well, the Battle of Jakku bridges the branch. We know that, and I very well think that Boba Fett could be part of the Battle of Jakku, just for the fact that we know absolutely nothing about the Battle of Jakku so far, and the Battle of Jakku could have happened potentially before Boba Fett's death in the Sarlacc pit.
Actually, no it didn't.
Death.
No it didn't. We do know something about the Battle of Jakku. We know the Battle of Jakku happened 1 year after the Battle of Endor. The Battle of Jakku happened 1 year after the Battle of Endor, but The Force Awakens happens 30 years after the end of Return of the Jedi. So that's what we know. So somehow Boba Fett got out of that Sarlacc pit and he's fighting on Jakku. That's if that is Jakku. But my point here, which I've taken quite a while to get to, is that I don't think the characters or the heroes will be planet specific. I think you will be able to cross over and have whoever you want on whatever planet you want. Because you see Darth Vader on Endor, right? And he's never... You never really see him battling on Endor. He is on Endor for a very short amount of time in Return of the Jedi, but he's never seen battling with the troops and with the ground forces. In fact, you never see Vader battling with the ground forces. He's almost there as an ambassador for the Empire. He's seen as an ambassador for the Empire, so you never actually see Vader fighting with ground troops, which is something I'm excited to see in The Force Awakens, because I'm hoping the new Sith guy will actually fight in battles with the ground troops, and it won't just be Jedi versus Sith, if you get what I mean. But we're completely going off topic. Yeah. I don't think heroes will be planet specific. I think you'll be able to mix and match, and I think that's pretty cool. But
well, I think maybe Boba Fett is the hero for the Battle of Jakku, because Star Wars does have a little bit of a reputation of bringing characters back from the dead, like Ghost, Ben Kenobi, and they brought back Darth Maul in the Clone Wars series, so maybe bringing back another fan favorite like Boba Fett wouldn't be too far of a stretch.
This is true, but going back to the 5 versus 5 with NPCs, is that something you can see happening in Battlefront? Could you see a game type similar to this happening, or what in your eyes is the closest thing to this that we'll see in Battlefront?
Oh, if they included mods, it's something I could see as a mod, but in terms of them including it in the base game, 5v5 actual online multiplayer, I can't see it. Maybe as a single player mission, but I don't think I could see it.
Yeah, I can't see it either as a single player mission or as an online mode. However, it would be freaking awesome if it could be included, and I definitely think if mod tools are released for Battlefront, that this mode needs to be created, and because it's a mod, we can call it Super Tight Butthole. So hopefully when
make a Super Tight Butthole server. If this mode is included, the Battlefront network will make a Super Tight Butthole
we will
server.
make a Super Tight Butthole server, and Fly, you will be invited to play with us, and we will play Super Tight Butthole, and it will be awesome.
So on the Force scale, Johnny, what would you give this?
Oh, this is a hard one, but I think I'm gonna give it a 2.
The Force can have a strong influence on the weak-minded.
So I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5. What about you?
Well, I was actually thinking a 2 out of 5 too, so I'm gonna go with
the Force can have a strong influence on the weak-minded.
At a 2.
Awesome. So that is a 2 out of 5, and thank you for that topic, Fly. It was very interesting to talk about. So we move on to the third and final topic of this episode of...
But Wishlist Wednesday. But before we get into that, I would like to throw in there that, guys, we got a lot of great comments here. There was a lot of awesome ideas. There was a ton that we wanted to make videos on, but for the concern over time, we did cut a lot of them, because a lot of these ideas can be videos in and of themselves, but we wanted to keep it to 3 ideas a video. So if your comment didn't get picked, it's not because your idea isn't good. There was a lot of great ones, but we just didn't have time to make videos on all these.
Well, and also to add to that, don't worry, because if your idea has been submitted, it doesn't mean that it won't be included in a later episode of Wishlist Wednesdays. It just won't be in this one. We may save a backlog of comments and use some of them in later episodes of Wishlist Wednesdays. So don't worry, there is still a chance for your ideas to pop up in an episode of
Wishlist Wednesday.
But before we get carried away, let's get to the third and final topic of this episode, which was given to us by Looney, and it says, okay, well, I would like to see this. We could spawn in a Star Destroyer and be able to fly down to the battle. I don't mean a space battle, I hope you know what I mean. Well, Looney, I do know what you mean. And I think you mean that there is a Star Destroyer hovering over the battlefield in atmosphere. You can spawn on it, and then maybe you can take a escape pod down into the battle, or you can take a ship down into the battle, maybe a TIE fighter, or maybe you can drop into the battle. I don't know how that would work. Maybe drop pods. I have no idea. Anything's canon now because Disney own the IP. So what are your thoughts on this one, Nolan?
So you talked about dropping down from the Star Destroyer, and that actually brings up something interesting. I don't know if you've ever played the game Homefront before.
No, I haven't.
Alright, so there's a mechanic. When you spawn, it's almost like you're coming in on a parachute in first person. You kind of arc down towards the ground, and it spawns you in, which I think that could be applicable here, because you're coming down, and obviously you're not on a parachute, but you're coming down and you're spawning in, and I think that would be cool for them to include as a little bit of mechanic. I don't know if they will. But in terms of the atmosphere to ground combat that he's talking about, I think we could see it in the game. It's similar to, like, what I'm imagining is they're taking Bespin platforms and then just moving the platforms themselves down a little bit and making the ships just spawn in bigger ships in the air.
Possibly, or they're keeping Bespin platforms the way it is and just raising the ceiling on the map and throwing a Star Destroyer in there. So
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. I mean, that's just an example, but the way I could see it working in, or the reason why I can see it working in Battlefront is because they're trying to keep everything in atmosphere. So I think it'd be a really good use of in atmosphere dogfights. So for your really large scale maps, you could have it so you spawn in giant flagships in the air, and that you can do your dogfights, and then you can do your ground battles. So it's not space to ground, but it's air to ground, and it still has the same kind of effect, but it doesn't give you that sense of grandeur that you're going from space into atmosphere to the ground. You're just going from air to ground, but it still has the same kind of effect, just not with the same air of grandeur as going from space to ground, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that I like this idea more than space to ground. Because let's think about it. Your team's getting wrecked on the ground, and they need a little bit of air support. Let's say there's an AT-AT wrecking them, and you need a Y-Wing bomber strike, and you actually have to do the bombing strike. I'm not talking about in the game mode where we saw they called one in. You actually have to physically do one yourself. And imagine how much time it would take to fly the Y-Wing out of a Mon Calamari cruiser, fly it all the way down through the atmosphere to the ground, and then find the AT-AT, and then compare that to if you had the starship in the atmosphere. You could just fly down from the atmosphere and quickly find it because it's right there. I feel like them including space to ground, it would have taken so much time to go space to ground that you would be almost bored of it by the time that you hit the ground. And by doing atmosphere to ground, I feel like that would make the game a lot more interesting and keep the pace of the game more consistent.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think the reason they didn't want to do space is because they want to keep everyone in the same sort of playing area, and I think air to ground would work successfully with that whole ideal of keeping everyone in the same playing area, not confining everyone to one small little space, but confining everyone to the same atmosphere, which I think is a really good idea. And I honestly think that if they really want to utilize this with the big conquest modes that are inevitable, then this is a really good idea for them to use, and it's a really good method just to have the dogfighting and then the ground and the air support and everything. I completely agree with you, Nolan. I think it's a fantastic idea.
Now we go to our force scale rating, unless you have anything else to throw in.
No, I don't. I think that one speaks for itself, really. I think it's a fantastic idea, and I think we hit the nail on the coffin with that one. I really do. So, yeah, my force scale rating for this one is it's a 5 out of 5. It's got to be a 5 out of 5.
Force is strong in this one.
Most definitely.
I was debating back in my head between 4 and 5, and I think I've come to a consensus at
May the force be with you.
I'm giving him a 4, just because there's that little part of me that just doubts that we'll be able to spawn in the cruiser. The cruiser, there will no doubtably be starships in the atmosphere, if not spawning out of them, at least for effect, and part of me fears that they will just kind of be there for effect.
Okay, but I think this should happen. It should be a thing. And I think if DICE are really, really dedicated to the cause, they will make this a thing. But again, I think your 4 out of 5 rating is justified. But I'm going to go out on a whim here and say it's a 5 out of 5. For me, it's a 5 out of 5. It's got to happen. It has to happen. So yeah, that is another episode of Wishlist Wednesdays.
Yeah, it was another episode of Wishlist Wednesdays.
So yeah, go on, Nolan.
Awkward.
Take us out.
So we want to thank you guys for submitting all your different ideas, and we would like to encourage you to submit more ideas. If you haven't submitted your idea already, you can submit it in the comment section below. If you have, you could maybe repost it, maybe edit a few words or something, make it as perfect as you possibly can, and we will see if we can get to it in the next episode. We can't get to all of them, which we're sorry about, but we're going to try to get to each and every one at some point.
Yep, that is correct. So until the next one, guys, I've been Carbon Shadow. He's been Nolan.
Hi.
And we will see you in the next episode of Wishlist Wednesdays, which just happens to be next Friday? Or
what?
What day does this come out on, Nolan?
Is it Sunday?
No. It's the one that comes after Tuesday but before Thursday.
It's on the tip of my tongue. Would it happen to be Wednesday?
It would be
Wednesday.
Don't forget to come back next Wednesday for another episode of Wishlist Wednesdays. Until then, we've been two completely big idiots who love the hell out of Star Wars Battlefront, and we'll see you on the next one. Say bye, Nolan.
Bye, Nolan.
And have a good one.